Hey, hey, hopefully I have a good connection, y'all. Welcome to Wellness Wednesday on Thursday because Facebook was down yesterday. Crazy, right? All sorts of rumors about what was happening, but I think my understanding is that it was actually power outages at their server. I don't know. So today we are talking about hypothyroidism, also known as low thyroid function. And about 20 million people in the US have diagnosed thyroid troubles, and about 60 to 70 million people have thyroid troubles that they don't even know about, right? So it's really a big problem. And there are two main categories of thyroid troubles. There is hyperthyroidism or overactive thyroid, and then there's hypothyroidism, right? And that's underactive thyroid. There are, of course, other types of thyroid issues, but those two are most common. And hypothyroidism occurs more frequently than overactive thyroid. So that's why we're talking about this today. Also, it's a question that I get asked about a lot. So today we're in spring break in Texas in March. A lot of people I've talked to that live further north are like, why would you have spring break in March? Well, it's rather spring-like today. And in fact, we are headed out to build a tree house out by the creek here just very shortly. So that's why I'm like fully in yard gear. But we're going to talk about hypothyroidism today because it affects so many people. It's a question I get asked about a lot. As I said, hypo or low thyroid function actually occurs much more frequently than overactive thyroid. What the condition is just a condition where your thyroid gland, which is right here in your throat, doesn't produce enough of crucial hormones like T3 and T4. And those two little hormones can have really big impact on lots of different functions in your body, like all of your energy metabolism, your vital function control. So vital function is things like body temperature, right? Your mental health, fertility, lots of other things. One of the main functions of T3 and T4 is to sort of travel through your bloodstream and convert oxygen and calories into energy. And so this energy is critical for lots of things: mood regulation, cognitive function, digestive processes. So very much your metabolism and your health overall, as well as your sex drive. And so underactive thyroid can go undetected in early stages because it looks like a lot of other things, right? It has sort of a, I'm just tired and have low energy sort of presentation to it. But we're going to talk more about some other reasons why it's underdiagnosed or undetected in a lot of reasons. So let's talk about the symptoms, right? So hypothyroidism, low thyroid, literally causes the body to slow down. So the result is generally weight gain, brain fog, some serious sluggishness overall. And so additional symptoms might be lethargy. You can call it lethargy, you can call it fatigue, you can call it low motivation, especially low motivation for getting your body moving. Moodiness and anxiety often come into play. Always feeling cold, especially in your extremities. Dry skin, sometimes dry and brittled hair. Brain fog, I mentioned that already. So difficulty concentrating, forgetfulness, unexplained weight gain, digestive troubles, and then generalized weakness generally come into play for low thyroid function. So you might be thinking, well, that's a lot of symptoms. Why does it go undetected when you just gave me a list of symptoms? Well, when you go to your allopathic doctor and tell them you think you have a thyroid problem, they generally run a blood test called TSH. And that's all fine and good, but it's not good enough to diagnose you accurately or prescribe you medication. Basically, that TSH can have tons of false negatives. It can also have false positives, and things that can cause that are illness, if you take any anti-lipid drugs, antidepressants, caffeine. So say you had your morning cup of coffee before you had your lab test. Any type of NSAIDs can also cause the test to go one way or another. And so the tests you actually need to run in order to diagnose a thyroid problem or a thyroid disorder are not only the TSH, but also the total T4, free and reverse T3, and thyroid antibodies. So you need a full thyroid panel. And that thyroid antibody test is really crucial, and sometimes it's not included in the panel. But with that thyroid antibody test, you can actually see changes in the thyroid about 10 years before physical symptoms present themselves. So if your family has a history of thyroid problems, then that thyroid antibody test is probably one of the most critical ones to see if you're headed down that same path. So let's talk about what causes thyroid problems. As I said, the thyroid just isn't producing enough T3, T4, or both. So here in the US, the most common cause of hypothyroid problem I can't even talk this morning because I haven't had my morning cup of joe. The most common cause of hypothyroid conditions is something called Hashimoto's thyroiditis. And basically Hashimoto's is an autoimmune condition in which the body actually attacks the thyroid gland because it thinks it's a foreign invader. This is called an autoimmune response, and it interferes with the production of T3 and T4 as well as the body's ability to put it to use. So worldwide, the #1 cause of hypothyroidism is actually iodine deficiency. But usually it's not necessarily a result of not consuming enough iodine, but it's the result of not being able to absorb the iodine that you do consume related to a damaged gut. So what that means for you, if you or someone you know is suffering from low thyroid function, is that it's highly likely it's related to your digestive system, to your gut. That being said, there are of course cases where, it's not a lack of iodine and it's not Hashimoto's, but it's heavy metal toxicity from something like mercury. And you can get this from fillings in your teeth, depending on when and where you got those fillings. And you can get that from your environment. You can get that from things like vaccines. Mercury and heavy metal toxins have an affinity for your thyroid, and they can disrupt your hormone balance and thyroid function overall. So there are a few things that sort of increase or elevate your risk over the average Joe of thyroid troubles. Things like nutrient deficiencies that we talked about. So specifically iodine, B vitamins, selenium, and zinc. If you have a diet overly consisting really of processed foods, sugars, unhealthy fats, too much caffeine or too much alcohol, skipping sleep, emotional stress, poor gut health, reactions to medications, genetic predisposition is one, although the study of epigenetics has shown us that the predisposition isn't necessarily the issue, but what you do to turn those genes on and off with your lifestyle habits is really the main issue there. Pregnancy or other big hormone fluctuations like pregnancy can increase your risk for thyroid troubles, a sedentary lifestyle, and then of course the toxicity, heavy metal toxicity due to chemical exposure in your life. So now that you know the cause, the question becomes, do you let the causes continue to hurt you or haunt you, or do you move forward and fix it? So let's talk about the conventional treatment for hypothyroid. Conventional treatment, and I always like to give both because I'm not trying to convince you to do it one way or another. I just want you to be fully informed of what your options are. So conventional treatment for low thyroid continues to be medication. Levothyroxine, Synthroid, sometimes the brand name. There are other brand names for other formulations, but it's a synthetic thyroid hormone. It continues to be sort of the gold standard in allopathic medicine to treat thyroid deficiency with. The trouble with this particular medication and anything when you're trying to manage hormones with a medication is that it's really difficult to nail down the dosage. And so it takes lots of trial and error, checking and tweaking, bouncing between symptoms of hypothyroidism and hyperthyroidism before you might get it right. It has a lot of side effects. And you know how I feel about side effects. Side effects is what the manufacturer calls them, but they are actually just effects of the medication. It does this and it does these things, right? So the side effects of levothyroxine are the same as the symptoms of hypothyroidism itself. Plus, as you switch, if you get a little bit too much for your system, you can add things like excessive sweating, heat sensitivity, tremors, temporary hair loss, digestive troubles like diarrhea, nausea, and vomiting. Doesn't sound very fun, right? That being said, there are, of course, holistic treatment options for hypothyroidism. And again, I like to share the conventional options and the holistic treatment options because, again, my job isn't to tell you which one to use, but to map out what the options are. And so maybe what you need right now is medication to get rid of the symptoms so that you can focus on fixing things holistically, but maybe a holistic path is better for you as well. This is usually a good time for me to pop in and just give a little bit of a word about diagnosis. So as I mentioned, the symptoms of thyroid disorders can be the same or similar as lots of other disease processes. So if you think you have a thyroid disorder, or if the symptoms have become debilitating, then it's really, really important to go to your doc, ask them to run the proper lab work. So you may need to tell them you want the full panel, TSH, total T4, free and reverse T3, and thyroid antibodies, along with any other standard lab work that they want to run. Once you have your diagnosis, then you can take that diagnosis and come to see someone like me or someone that, another holistic provider that you work with, to work together to find the root cause and actually heal your body rather than just masking the symptoms. So as usual, that healing path starts with diet and lifestyle changes, no matter what the root cause of your thyroid issue is. And interestingly, studies show that diet and lifestyle changes are 80% more effective than the prescription medications to relieve your thyroid troubles. So first holistic treatment option is nutrition. So the simple answer is plant-based, way fewer carbohydrates, moderate protein. So what that means is 4 to 8 ounces per day, and plenty of healthy fats. So for some, it may not be quite so simple, and a little extra testing may be required for food sensitivity and that sort of thing. But it's also important, along with this macronutrition, so the food you put in your body, to get the right micronutrition. Because as I mentioned, a lot of times hypothyroidism has to do with vitamins and minerals that you're deficient in. So rather than focus on specific vitamins and minerals, because there's a lot of, it can be very individual dependent, generally the things you want to do is increase your iodine-rich foods. So lots of sea veggies, lots of wild caught fish, add more selenium to your diet. Almost everyone that comes to see me with thyroid troubles, I have them eat 2 to 3 Brazil nuts a day. So just keep some Brazil nuts in your freezer, eat 2 or 3 a day. That'll do your selenium. And it does selenium better than taking a selenium supplement, because there's other nutrients inside that Brazil nut that help your body put the selenium to use. Other things with selenium, grass-fed beef liver and spinach, also really good. You want to add zinc and B vitamins, so eating grass-fed animal proteins, pastured eggs, and then you can sprinkle in a big dose of anti-inflammatory plants like Brussels sprouts, pistachios, certain mushrooms, and asparagus, and that will set your nutrition off on the right path. Stress management is another really big component of managing your thyroid, and so we've talked about this a lot. Stress has a physical effect on your body. So if you're under a lot of emotional or physical stress, your body is living in this constant fight or flight mode, right? And it causes elevated adrenaline and elevated cortisol. And this has a lot of negative effects, some of which are increased blood pressure, increased inflammatory protein. So you're just causing, chronic inflammation all over your body, and increased immune suppressing antibodies that actually work to damage that thyroid gland. So that's the start of that autoimmune disease that we talked about. The very best thing to do is to tackle the cause of your stress. So just like we're tackling the cause of the thyroid issue, you want to tackle the cause of the stress at the roots. And so you can use lots of different methods to reduce stress. And if you're under a lot of stress, then you must consider your stress level an emergency. It is probably equally as important or almost as important as your nutrition. There's a few methods to do that. Meditation, of course, is one of them. Not a new concept, and it's widely determined that meditation helps literally every aspect of being human. So it can be intimidating, I get that. So if you don't have my meditation guide, if you will jump on here, audreychristie.com/Wellness Wednesday, I know it's Thursday, you can get that download sent to you. Very, very important. And I call it the guide for people who don't have time or don't know how, or say they can't meditate because they can't still their mind or whatever. This has options for everyone. So I suggest you check it out. And some of them only take 1 minute, 60 seconds. Let me see. Ooh, here we go. Nope, okay. I'll just leave that crawler up. The second thing is sleep. So you want to get 7 to 9 hours of sleep every single night. This happens when you are free of caffeine for about 6 hours before bedtime, when you're free of screens for 1 hour before bedtime, when your room is a cool, not your rule, your room is a cool 68 degrees and it's pitch black dark, and you're all oiled up with relaxing oils, either diffusing or topically on your toe tips and reflex points. Things like lavender, peace and calming, always a good choice. Crystals. Another option for reducing stress, helping to heal the thyroid. The thyroid is a throat chakra issue, right? So any blue crystal is perfect for throat chakra balancing, perfect for throat chakra support. And the thyroid itself, of course, is a big part of a much bigger physical energy and energetic symptom. And it's just really too big to ignore. So some of my favorite stones to work with the thyroid include blue apatite and chrysocolla. Another good stress reduction technique is movement. My biggest recommendation here is yoga, but any movement will do, whatever works for you. Always start with a gentle and restorative practice. So if yoga is not for you, maybe that's just a gentle stroll down your street or around the block. If yoga is for you, then you can search out gentle and restorative yoga practices. And as your symptoms improve, your fog will lift, and then you'll be more motivated and you'll feel like moving into more rigorous practices and exercising. So if you start with yoga, if you start with something gentle like walking, as the fog lifts, as you feel better, you'll probably feel like doing running or more flow-oriented yoga classes or riding your bike or whatever that movement that lights you up feels like to you. And then the last one is energy medicine. And this one I wanted to demonstrate for you. So if you're familiar with the chakra system, you know that it kind of runs up and down your spine, and there are 7 major energy centers. Well, those 7 energy centers are also reflected, rather than vertically, they're reflected horizontally in the throat. And so the simplest way to start shifting the energy here, and without having, you can sort of do this anywhere, is to touch your neck and vertically pull in the opposite directions. And just pull all the way around to the sides. And that's all you gotta do. And it doesn't matter if you know how it works or why it works, it just works. And if you have questions about that, you can certainly post them below and I'd be happy to answer them for you. But that's a whole nother video in itself. But that's all you have to do there, is just pull in opposite directions. So after stress management, so far, holistic solutions, we've covered nutrition, stress management. The next one is reducing toxin exposure. And so we've talked about this some in the past, but toxins and chemicals in our environment, both ingested and absorbed in our environment, contribute to leaky gut, and they contribute to overall inflammation in the body. And it's not possible to avoid them all, but you can do your best. So make sure you're checking labels. It's not just your medications, but it's other products like your toothpaste, your cleaning products, your toiletry products. So like makeup and deodorant, everything that you come in contact with is either adding to or taking away from your health. So everything that you put on your skin, whether it's, you got some 409 on your hand cleaning the counter, it takes 26 seconds for that to get in your bloodstream. So keep that in mind as you're checking labels. I do a class called Essential Oils 101, and it's about converting all of the products in your house to products that are less toxic or non-toxic. One of the things I like to do is issue the 3 cabinet challenge. And it's just to open 3 cabinets randomly in your house where you store cleaning supplies. Pick 3 different products, turn the bottle over, read those ingredients, and then go to Google and type dangers of pick an ingredient you don't know. And just sort of read and educate yourself about what it is that you're putting out into your environment in your home. So one of the keys to improving your thyroid is reducing that toxin exposure. The next thing is supplements. And sort of, I touched on this in the nutrition section just a minute ago. I'm hesitant to recommend specific supplements and dosages because those can vary so much from person to person. So instead, what I want you to do is focus on the supplements that reduce inflammation. And the basics for that are omega-3 fatty acids, probiotics, and then vitamin D3 plus K2. Additionally, if you want to add any adaptogenic herbs like ashwagandha or rhodiola, or mushrooms like reishi, cordyceps, or chaga, those can also be very beneficial. And those doses are pretty flexible, and you can, those herbs and adaptogenic mushrooms, I'll get it out in a minute, are beneficial for everyone. So there's not, a really specific dose for hypo or hyperthyroidism or not. And then the last thing you can do is essential oils. You can use essential oils to support your endocrine system. So you can use something like Endoflex, and that's a blend of spearmint and geranium. You can just apply those to your toe tips daily. You can also use essential oils, of course, for the stress management. So you can just put some on your palm, rub your hands together, and then they call it a scent tent. And then inhale and you're good. So in closing, and because Facebook has been so messed up, I don't know if you guys are leaving comments. I can't see them. So now that you know the causes and sort of what you can do to help fix your thyroid, to help restore balance to your body, then how long are you going to let it haunt you? So, you know, the only thing that we generally regret is not taking action. So get in there, figure out what's going on, get the lab tests done if you haven't already, and then take steps to improve your lifestyle. So quickly, to wrap it up in closing, if you're suffering from low thyroidism, down and dirty, get the facts. So get the necessary testing done so you know exactly what's going on. 2, nutrition, get rid of your processed foods, increase your plants and good fats. 3, stress relief. So meditation, crystals, sleep, movement, and whatever combo you can add to your lifestyle without causing additional stress. Number 4, reduce toxin exposure. Kick your chemical toxins to the curb. If you want to take the essential oils class, you can find that at audreychristie.com/essential-oils, I believe. Because you can reduce toxins in your life, and now that you know better, now that you know those toxins are there and you've done that 3-cabinet challenge, you can do better for you and do better for your family. And number 5, make sure you're adding beneficial and anti-inflammatory supplements like omega-3 fatty acids, probiotics, vitamin D3, K2, and all the adaptogens that you can eat. If you have questions, be sure and post them below. Thank you very much for watching. So sorry Facebook had issues yesterday. Be well.